All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Urban Dimension podcast. You're listening to your hosts, Aries and Teddy Rockwell. But
Yo,
today we have a special guest, Chucky. He's a,
Yo,
how you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right, man. My laptop broke today, so I've been ripping and running all around Houston trying to get it fixed. But other than that, I'm doing all right. Can't complain.
Damn, I feel that. Like, how did it break? Like, you dropped it or something?
I tried to put I tried to put new RAM sticks inside of it, and I think I might have messed up the motherboard. So I either got to somehow make it work or get a new computer. And right now it's looking like I gotta get a new one.
sounds tough. Sounds tough.
Nah, that's
You
straight.
know, if we were sponsored, we could possibly help you with that.
Nah, for real. Nah, but it's all good. I got everything saved and backed up, so it's like it's nothing too hard.
Oh yeah, that's definitely something that's important. I think all of us could relate to that, like producers and like possibly losing all of your music and shit.
Oh yeah, I definitely would have cried. Like I would not have hopped on this podcast with like no type of positivity. I would have been like, "Yo, that's it."
Yeah, that's actually yeah, we could start that kind of like with the topics. I think I'm not too sure when it was, but I think Kanye he was recording maybe Yeezus or one of his albums.
Yeah,
His daughter I think did something with his laptop and like messed up all of the music, and he was just like, I had to start over from scratch on the album, and I was just like,
I can't.
yeah, that's tough.
That's extremely tough.
Like the producer in me, I was just like, fuck, bro, like oh my goodness,
Imagine
and
what
then
we
I'm
lost. Like
gems,
I would have cried.
facts. He probably lost more than Jesus if we being real.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Then it's
definitely.
like as a father, what do you what do you do? How do you
How do you imagine your son being like, "Yeah, I kind of lost the latest Jay Electronica album, but like you could read me a story later."
yeah.
Oh yeah. But to start off, Sean, how would you say you got into making music?
Um, wow, it's been so long that I can't I can't pinpoint exactly when I got into it. I just know one day I heard Illmatic and my life was changed, and
Ah.
since then I've been just the biggest music fan in the world.
Mm. So when you say it changed, how do you mean? Like for the better, for the
No,
worse? Like
definitely for the better. Like it was like nothing I heard before, like up to that point, and I was at least, I want to say I was 10 or 11.
prime hip hop listening
It
stage.
I'm about to
was.
say.
I remember I was like 10 or 11 because it was on my mom's old like iPod Nano with the scroll wheel.
Yeah, oh the scroller.
That thing did not
Scroller.
Bringing
work.
it back.
I used to play like knockoff Tetris on that thing. It was fire.
That's crazy having to go clockwise on an Apple device.
Thanks. Nah. But yeah, ever since then, actually I didn't get started. I didn't make music until I was like 14 to 15. I started out DJing as a kid.
Oh
Mm.
really?
Yeah, I was a DJ before I ever touched a FL Studio or an Ableton or an MPC.
Oh,
How
that's
was that?
that's dope.
Oh, I was trash. No, I was absolute garbage.
That's normal though. Like Kobe, he said he was trash. I think like when he was first starting out to play basketball.
Yeah. Nah, but it was fun. I remember after I got to high school, that's when I always took it seriously, but before then I was making like and like almost nobody else knows this, but I was like making vaporwave. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically just like you it's like you take 80s pop songs and you slow them down. It's basically chopped and screwed music, but for white kids.
Mm.
Yeah, and I thought I was the man because I had like me a couple thousand. They were like, "Yeah, bro, you got it." I was like, "I mean, you know, I'm the best music slower downer."
So is it kind of like how the weekend after hours sounded just a little bit?
I'm sorry, man. What you say?
No, I was saying, would you say that the vaporwave is like how the weekend's after hours album kind of sounded?
Yeah, yeah. It was honestly, I, I don't, you can't hear like hardly any of my vaporwave influences like in my early like beat making stuff. In fact, before I even started making music as Chucky, I used to go by I used to go by like Mr. Sunset, and I made trash, pure trash, nothing but trash. There's somewhere out
Like
there on the internet somebody has something of my old stuff. So if you do, if you're listening to this, well, congratulations. You got something that I
was
definitely
that
don't have.
trash by by choice or was
Oh no, it was not. No, I was doing my best. I was definitely trying my hardest, but it taught me a lot.
okay, okay.
That's
That's
pretty
cool.
dope.
Yeah.
I think well no, I'll ask. Do you think the DJing beforehand played a role in the making of the music
Uh,
or
yeah, no, absolutely. I think
okay.
because I guess it's because of my tastes. Because I was already like naturally into like jazz and a lot of. For some reason, I really like pop music and I like funk and I like really weird like
Mhm.
Italian movie soundtracks and stuff like that. Like when I started DJing, my hero was like Girl Talk. Girl Talk used to make like the most fire mashups from like '08 till about 2012,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
it was like it was. I can't explain it right because it was some of the, like the most fire music I've ever heard to this day, and yeah, um, no, that definitely like had like the biggest impact on my DJing and everything.
Mm. Um I'm sorry if it comes off as a lot. We have a lot of questions for you. You know, it's an interview, but
No, by all means.
would you would you say that like your fascination with music, like maybe just as a listener, sort of was able to gear you towards creating music?
I think so. Yeah, because I'm always a fan before I'm like an artist. You know,
Hmm.
because
Okay, okay.
I don't know. I'm never the type to be like too cool about it. Like if I'll ever if I ever meet like some of like my heroes, like if I ever meet um like Toro y moi, like I won't be like the cool like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, we're both artists. Like no, I'll be a geek about it. Be like, dude, I listened to you all through middle school, all through high school. You
yeah.
know,
That's same here. Same here. I'm a Tory Moi stan, Kid Cudi
exactly.
stan.
I could never be so cool to be like, oh, we're both artists. We're both like, yeah, we're on that level. Like there is no level to me. Like it's always like I'm a giant fan of your music and I will show it.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
that's. Would you say that Tora Ma is one of your like musical inspirations for the music you make now, or he just like somebody you want to have music like, if that makes sense?
Oh no, inspiration wise, nah, not that's funny because it's like as much different music as I listen to, I only have really a handful of inspirations. But I guess maybe visually, he's definitely one of my inspirations. You know, I always
Hmm.
try and aim to have a very I guess a specific type of feeling in the way everything looks and everything feels.
I got you. I got you. So like when you make music, do you like go for a particular vibe when you're going into the like studio session? Do you have like a certain mindset you going into the song, or you just start making music organically?
I used. Oh, that's a good one. I guess whenever I'm in that mode, like whenever I just decide, like, all right, it's time to do it, I feel like I'm. Whenever I like start, I'm like, okay, I'm not like doing this specifically to be like, okay, now I'm in like artist mode. Or I don't do it to just be like, all right, it just happened. I kind of go into this mindset where it's like, okay, I feel like I'm like at a jazz like session and it's just me. And now
Mm,
it's like, okay, it's time to get to work. But it never feels like work in like in the way where it's like, oh, I got slog through it. No, it's like I'm having
Mm,
like the time of my life doing it, you know.
okay.
So I guess
okay.
if that counts as organic, or if that doesn't count, like I mean, it feels organic to me, you know.
Yeah, if it feels organic to you, that's gonna be subjective because one person might not feel that way, but to way the way you make music will feel organic. So if it's organic to you, then it's definitely organic. But back to you when you said you was doing DJing, like,
Yeah.
do you ever notice a difference between people who DJ or DJ first and then created music, or vice versa?
Oh,
You ever?
absolutely. You can definitely, and maybe it's because I'm just like a giant music nerd, but like you can tell who started like making music first, or trying to compose stuff first, as opposed to like they heard music and they were like, oh, I really like this, and they were like a fan of all different types of music, and then they started like, okay, maybe I can try this out. You know,
Hmm.
Mm,
it's definitely a different type of feeling. You know, you like you could tell someone like Lord Finesse was a really big hip hop fan, or he was a really big jazz
ah,
fan before he started making stuff for the DITC.
okay. I'm that is such a genius thing to bring up, Sean. I mean, well, do you want to go by like the artist name
Really,
or what?
like it, it's cool with me either way. Like most people,
We're gonna honor Chucky. I
yeah. No,
apologize,
that's
but
cool. It's cool. Like most people
uh,
call me like Chuck or Sean or Chucky or whatever. Like whichever y'all prefer, it's cool.
man, you're royalty. You're here on the Urban Dimension
And
podcast.
I'm honored, man.
Yeah, our first guest, so we gotta honor the Chucky name. But what I was gonna point to was just the idea of like I guess, and I'm trying to like draw a lot of connections together at once, but like Nujabes or
Yeah,
Nujabes.
that's weird. I
I
don't know how to pronounce it. I when I was a kid and like still to this day, I pronounce it as like Nujabes. But like everybody I've
mm,
talked to who knows about him like pronounces it differently.
yeah, I think the idea with um with him, like you could tell the inspiration from like jazz and hip
You
hop,
could,
and
yeah, definitely,
he's blending a lot of genres together, and I think you gotta be like for someone to kind of do that, it's assumed that you're a fan first to even think of putting those ideas together.
yeah,
So I think that's a great idea.
yeah. I think, yeah, I think if you're gonna do it, I think you should. Well, I mean, I don't think you're making music unless you don't love music, unless you're just in it for the paycheck. In which case, I don't know. But no, I think that if you're gonna get started with it, like listen to just like anything and everything you can get your hands on, you know.
Mm,
That's interesting.
mm,
Because like me personally, I didn't grow up listening to. Well, no, that's a lie. But I didn't grow up listening to like half of the bands that I listen to now. I didn't grow up listening to orchestra music. I didn't grow up listening to um like well, I did, but not as I didn't grow up listening to synth pop as much. But now it's like most of the records I have are made up of stuff that I had never heard of until I grew up, you know. But like I still have the musical background of like my okay, so like my dad's from like Louisiana and my mom's from like California. So I
mm-hmm.
got different types of I got two of like the most furthest spectrums of music that you could like think of like put together. And so, like growing up, I heard Bootsy Collins, and then like in the same breath, I would hear De La Soul, and then right after that, I would hear Stan Getz. But then right after that, my mom would play like the Thompson Twins, and it would just be like this back and forth between like every type of genre that you could think of, and it's like maybe that had like an effect on my brain, but it definitely manifested itself into what it is now, which is probably a hoarding problem when it comes to records and tapes at this point, and it's only
I
getting
mean,
bigger. Like it's it's only
yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
yeah,
I think it's like a visceral kind of escape land that you kind of get
yeah,
with music, and because I can relate completely. Like the music that my dad played was like Peebo Bryson, a whole bunch of like different little odd names out there,
yeah,
and like my mom, she's playing more newer stuff, more mainstream, like Destiny's Child, and then like other people like Anita Baker, Diana Ross, just different kind of soulful kind of stuff,
yeah,
and my parents were split, and like I'm back and forth between them, and like I said, like that 10-year-old kind of like hip hop stage, I discovered the Wu-Tang Clan, and it's completely different from everything I've ever
yeah.
heard, and I'm hearing like kung fu films in the back, and I'm just
That's the
like what is
that's the
this?
coolest. Like I can't see you had it better than me. I discovered like Nas first, and then I discovered like right after that, I remember listening to De La Soul. I can only imagine what it must have been like listening to Wu Tang at a young age. Cause like once you break it down, all they are kung fu and comic book nerds who can rap.
Yeah, that's true.
What about you, Aries? What was your kind of like inspiration?
For me, I don't know, cause my people, well, my parents, they're from two completely different places. Like my mom, she's from LA, and my dad, he's from New Orleans. So like I have my mom's LA background. She's listening to hip hop, NWA stuff like that. But my dad, he's listening to other stuff like typical New Orleans music. And then I grew up in Atlanta, so I have three different genres of music that I pull from. So I just think it's interesting to hear like you guys expounding about the different music inspirations that you guys had, and I can also tell that like Chucky has a very I wouldn't say classical, but it's very what's the word I'm looking for? Like
Um,
very, I don't know, I
the,
can't really put my finger on it, but
like
yeah,
eclectic.
yeah, eclectic. Like I've never heard of anybody who listens to the kinds of music that you do listen to, but it's also you can see that it shows up in your music as well.
Yeah,
Mm, yeah, yeah. That's I think that's cool, and I think that's a reason why a lot of like mainstream music, well, we can take this podcast like anywhere it goes, but like I think with like mainstream music, some people get upset because like inspiration comes from like the same sort of source,
yeah,
and I think people get frustrated with people or other like artists who don't draw from different inspirations. So it's kind of like everyone gets filtered out on the same thing. So like
yeah,
I'm trying to say like maybe with basketball, like people are divided with like Michael Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. I feel like on the flip side, people would get upset if everyone liked one person. So
facts.
it's just like,
Yeah,
yeah, this Larry Bird guy is the best fucking thing since sliced bread. There's gonna be that outbreak of people like,
yeah,
you know what?
yeah.
Fuck Larry Bird.
Facts, facts.
And I think that's cool. And for me, I know that's a big thing that kind of played a role in my taste of music when I was younger. Because I remember, like, especially being from New Orleans, when we talk about music, like rap, especially Lil Wayne, like everywhere I went, Wayne, the Carter 2, Carter 3, like no ceilings, everything. Wayne was everywhere. And there was a point where it wasn't that I disliked Wayne, but I got used to him because it was kind of he wasn't even mainstream, but he was everywhere. And when I heard other people rapping, like just more obscure kind of stuff, I can't think of like a major name, but like say like Big L or or Big Pun or
Yeah.
just like a different sound, like say East Coast, I was particularly drawn to that, like Wu Tang Clan.
Mm.
And then when I played video games, like say like Tony Hawk Pro
It
Skater
was
4,
always
different
like
shit
West
like that.
Coast stuff.
Yeah, it was West Coast stuff. And then like the rock was thrown in on there, and it was just like the music really like it seemed a little bit better to me just because it was completely different from what was in my environment. So I wanted to extend that question to the both of you. Like, do you think music's value kind of changes depending on like the context or like environment where it's at?
Mm,
Mm.
that's a really loaded question.
I mean, I got like mad places I could take it.
Hey man, that's it's urban dimension, man. We just try to have fun. We
That's
try to
okay.
bring up the hard hitting
It's
questions.
funny that you bring it up because like where my mind goes immediately is as soon as you say musical value, like, but in terms of region, I think of the East Coast and West Coast beef, which is like I don't think your mind should immediately go to that, but since it was such a pivotal point in the history of hip hop, I think that it kind of like bears talking about, and it's naturally going to come up in your mind, because what was interesting about that time around the the early, mid, and even like the late '90s, New York was always the place that you went if you wanted to break a record, even if you were from um, LA. Like as much power as they had because of NWA and the DOC and I wouldn't say Del the Funky Homo Sapien because he was definitely more underground, but
Hmm.
um, Ice Cube and BG, not the BG that you guys think of. I'm talking about BG Knockout. He was
Yeah.
um, a more popular artist on the West Side. As much power as they had and as much like popularity that they enjoyed because of the white kids that they eventually appealed to, everybody had to go through the New York radio stations in order to be like platinum, like worldwide or even like nationwide, because everybody kind of understood and everybody kind of knew that New York was the birthplace and New York was the place where all the most hottest, the most
Mm,
talented, like the most, even the most underground New York artists, it was kind of agreed that it was like, okay, they could beat any like West Coast artists, you know?
wow. So New York, since like with the history and everything with it, was like the mecca of rap.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
Okay.
and it made sense because stuff in New York would blow up that would never have any chance of blowing up anywhere else. Like a Tribe Called Quest would not have blown up if they had been based in Atlanta.
Very good
Mm,
point.
Like the DITC would not have been nearly as influential as they were if they were in like Detroit or something like that.
okay,
Big L
okay.
would
I got
not have been like Stretch and Bobbito. They broke so many underground artists that would eventually become big, like MF Doom and Black Thought and The Roots and Wu Tang Clan and Big Pun and Big L. All of those people, like, and that's an underground radio station, and they broke so many like artists that are basically household names today. And they were like that, and it was just like it was kind of understood that like the lowest, like the most underground radio station had more staying power, more buying power than the biggest radio station in the West Coast, you know?
mm,
So even
I
though
got
and
I got
NWA's
two
like
questions.
I don't know.
I'm sorry to cut you
No,
off.
no, you good,
Two
you good.
major questions cuz like this is a major like history lesson and I got to make sure to nail on something. So, for what you're saying right now, I want you to think about that in the context of back then,
Yeah.
and also try to see if you can bring that to like what you think about today.
Oh,
Because I
today?
know like Aries, especially when we talk about music and we're talking about what's going on, we're always talking about Atlanta.
Yes,
Like Atlanta seems like the crazy mecca now. Where
and
like,
it is. You are absolutely right. The South has been reigning over the hip hop scene for the past, I'll say, 20 years. Honestly,
mm,
from like 2000 up to now, they've been reigning. Even like from the late 90s, like they've been reigning over the game for so many years. Because eventually, and I partially, I don't want to say blame, but the internet really played a huge part in that. Because after Biggie and Tupac got killed, and even though I don't think they were the best of the best, I understand that their deaths really sent like shockwaves through every circuit of hip hop, no matter where you were. People were looking for fun after that. That's why Diddy and them got so big. That's why Bad Boy and like the shiny suit era of hip hop got so big, because people were tired of like people dying. People were tired of losing really valued artists. And after Diddy's time kind of passed through, the South took up the buck, because, and it's kind of like a bad stereotype, but it's a true stereotype, that the South, they don't have the type of lyricists, at least not in bulk, that the East Coast would have, and they don't have like the swagger and like the funk that the West Coast had. We just had straight sweat and grimy beats. Like, if you, and that can go down to, you can blame that, or you could put that on Uncle Luke and the Miami bass era. Because
mm-hmm,
people, that was back in the 80s. People went over down to Miami just to move, just to dance, just to groove, just to get the freak on. And you know people got tired of just like the depressing just news of, oh man, hey, did you hear someone got shot in New York? Dang. Oh man, did you hear someone got shot in Compton? Someone just got shot in the Bronx. Someone just got shot in LA. And people were just tired of that, and it reflected really heavily in the music. So once people got tired of that, they were just like, let's check out and see what Outkast is saying. Let's see what Goody Mob is saying. Let's see what the Ghetto Boys are saying. You know,
mm,
That's a
and it's
very
really, yeah.
that's a very good point that you made. Not to cut you off, but like,
No, by all means.
do you feel like that idea kind of translates into the modern era of hip hop today, like with the whole Nipsey Hussle killing, and then
Yes,
they had that the X shooting and stuff like that? Do you feel like that
absolutely.
whole,
Yeah,
yeah? How do you
and
feel
that
about that?
I that kind of comes down to hip hop is a lot more punk rock than it used to be. As wild and as crazy as it was back in like the late 80s and the early 90s, it was real controlled by the labels. So
Hmm.
many songs that from a lot of great artists we'll probably never hear, because the record labels would never have allowed it to just go out. But nowadays, since the internet kind of democratizes everything, my bad. It Yeah, no, it makes it, I guess, since the sound kind of the South evolved from, I guess, the ringtone rap of like '04 to like '07 to just straight trap music. And even now it's a lot more melodic and a lot more, I'll say, pretty. Honestly, it's a lot more pretty nowadays. um no, that definitely, that feeling of the '90s, from where it's like, okay, we're tired of this is what it's like in the ghetto. It's all bleak and poor. Like, yeah, and then that feeling definitely translates to now, and maybe probably a little too much. You know,
That's understandable.
yeah.
Also, how do you feel about going back to Teddy's question about like value in certain locations? Like,
Mhm.
do you feel like the value of music has gone down over, the generations of hip hop or music in general?
Um, Honestly, that's a hard question. That's a tough one, because hip hop went very pop, and it
Oh
went
yeah.
very mainstream after
mm.
after a couple of years.
That's very true.
And I don't want to insinuate that if a music is mainstream, then its value has gone down. But mainstream music is mainstream music for a reason, and because it's easy to sell, it's easy to get to the masses, it's easy to swallow, I guess. So like you would have stuff that probably will never blow up, that will stay like on Spotify and on SoundCloud and on Bandcamp forever, But I don't think that doesn't necessarily take away from the value, you know, because you can
Yeah,
have somebody like, I don't know, Tissa Korean going on the top 100 or the top 50 or the top 10, and he's just a dude from, I think he's from Houston. He makes one song and it blows up. And as simple as it may be, I don't think that it really takes away from the value. Now, is it trash? Yes, but that comes down to value, And I probably like contradicted myself somewhere in there, but hopefully that makes sense.
oh, it does.
It's like
No, I
there's a
agree
certain
completely.
standard that's associated with mainstream music that brings down, at least in my opinion, and this is all coming from me, at least in my opinion, it stops being s- really artistic and it starts being more financial, you know. But even in that, things can still have like musical value.
That's a very good point that you brought up with the music becoming financial. Like, how do you feel about how fast music is coming out nowadays? Do you feel like that can potentially take away from the music's value?
Yes, yes, I do. Oh man, that's a oh. See, you didn't hit a nerve. I absolutely do. And it's beautiful in some ways that a kid can hear, like they could get inspired by hearing some large professor remixes, or they could hear um Toro Imoa, or they could hear like College, which is he's a synth pop um artist who I love to listen to. Or they could hear at the drive-in,
Hmm.
and they could be like, okay, I want to do this, and the only thing that's stopping them is getting a computer and just doing it. I think that's a beautiful part of it, but at the same time, I think that it's enabled kids to think, and not just kids but people in general, to think that it's just easy to do it. You could make a trash song on purpose and then get rich off of it. And really, I don't blame them for thinking that, because what's been perpetuated is that you can put like the least amount of effort into something and get extremely rich off of it, if you just have like either the right connections, or you just get lucky enough on SoundCloud or Spotify to where someone sees you and is just like, okay, I want to hop on, I want to take advantage of the 15 minutes of fame. And I hate to say it like that, but that's how most things are. Like Block Boy JB, when was the last time you heard a song from him?
Shoot, it's been a minute.
You know what I'm saying? Like, as much as people say they love X, like when was the last time you actually sat down and listened to an XXX Tentacion album, even a song? You know
It's been a minute. It's funny that you bring that up because that's similar to like how artists like Lil Nas X or even Pop Smoke,
exactly,
because Pop he got his beat off of YouTube for like $30, but then he created like, he got close with that producer and then they blew up together. But
exactly.
more specifically, like Lil Nas X, he bought that beat for like $30.
And now look at,
Yeah,
like, he blew, like he had one of the most successful singles of, I think, the past 10 years, and now where is he? Because he can't sell an album. Panini
yep.
was okay, but no, I didn't listen to that. Like the little snippets that I heard, they were okay, but like I didn't listen to that whole album. I barely listened to Old Town Road.
Yikes!
I
You're
mean, I don't
opening
mean
a
to,
lot of can
I
of
don't mean
worms,
to be like
bro.
controversial or
Um.
nothing, but it's like you
Oh,
can't,
nah, nah.
you
You're
can't,
right, man. I
you can't
haven't.
put in like the minimal amount of effort, and you can't do like the bomb of the barrel appeal to just you know anybody, and then expect to be like, okay, now I'm an artist. Like, no, that's not how. You have to go in you have to have a love for it. You have to have something inside you that's like, I can't live without doing and showing what's like on the inside, you know? Exactly.
What about Lil Pump?
When was the last time you heard Lil Pump, Smoke Perp, well, I won't say Amine because he's actually been dropping some okay projects, but even Playboy Cardi, and that's the saddest part for me.
Oh Lord, not Playboy Cardi.
Oh
See,
No,
gosh.
like real,
Oh,
and I can talk about that
meh,
for hours. Cardi, I really would have preferred Cardi to stay with Alpha
meh.
Records and be not and still be like that mysterious, like only drops like once or twice a year type of artist instead of what we have now. Because the music that he dropped, as much as I accept that it was trash, I liked it. I liked it a lot. You know, but back when it was him and Ethereal and Mexico Dro and Father and all of those guys, like when that there was a feeling that I've never heard like in trap since. You know, the closest thing that I've heard is Divine Council. They broke up like 2 or 3 years ago, and
Mm.
since then it's like, you know,
yeah, that old Playboy Cardi was my favorite version of Playboy Cardi because I remember like being in high school, just like hearing it because I would hear it when it was first come out because I'm in Atlanta, so I'm hearing it. I'm like, this is not the typical,
exactly. It's
you know, Atlanta sound.
like it's not. I don't know what happened to him, you know. And I don't want to be on like conspiracy theories, like, oh, the music industry messed, like, but it's like it's almost every single time you take somebody from the underground doing cool stuff and you put them in a mainstream setting where they can make some money. If they're not strong enough, they're not. I don't know what you expect to happen. You know, if it happened once and it happened twice, it'll happen all the time. You know, and that goes to like, I'm not gonna get into that just yet. I'm not gonna get into it. Nah.
Dang, this is actually really tough because I'm sitting down here right now trying to think of artists that like I really thoroughly enjoy that I think maybe they have like some kind of fascination or like appreciation for music and like maybe them getting mid when I guess they get
Yeah.
mainstream or like kind of falling off,
Yeah.
right? I'm thinking of like Kevin Parker, or Tame Impala,
Exactly.
or Toro
Exactly.
Moi. Even if you want to go a different genre like Travis Scott, I don't
I
see
don't.
those
What
guys kind of
happened to
falling.
Trav? I don't know what happened to
Man,
him.
that's that's the whole. I could get on that conversation for hours because he's one of my main inspirations for my music. So
He dropped.
yeah, that
I don't get it. I don't. You know what I'm saying? And it's like what happens is, and I think that, and people are starting to catch on now. Like I see people more and more. They're like, yeah, Whole Lotta Red is not dropping, and even if it does, like so many songs have been leaked that it's like I don't care no more. Like sure, it's not like, and I don't even listen to Lil Uzi or nothing, but um it's not like his latest album that just dropped. I can't remember the name.
Eternal Take.
Yeah, it's not like Eternal Take where people were like hearing snippets and they knew his situation where it was like, oh, my label won't let me, or it was just like a whole bunch of like stuff in the background. With Cardi, we don't know what's going on, and to be honest, like nobody cares because the latest song that just dropped was awful,
Meh.
and like the songs that he's been dropping for the past couple of years have been awful. Die Lit was not a great album to me, and neither was his self-titled one that came out the year before.
Uh, I'll.
I will agree that some of those songs were extremely, extremely hard. But that aside, as a project as a whole, it's a 5 out of 10. But like that's to be expected with projects now with trap artists. It's
Yeah.
like they make songs for singles and they don't put any thought into the album.
Yeah.
yeah.
I. Oh, well, do you want to say something, Reese?
No, you can go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was thinking about that the other day because, like, say my Bryson Tiller review, completely
Yeah.
different artist. I was really stuck on like the number scale. I was thinking
Hmm.
about things, and I was kind of like that. I wasn't fully impressed, but I felt like the production. I was like, the production's kind of solid. Like, it sounds good
Hmm.
sonically, but the album is like 30 minutes. He said there was a long wait for this album. A lot of people were like, "Oh, finally." And when I was listening, some parts here and there I liked, and then other parts just seemed like, okay, this guy's just playing an old sample over and
Yeah,
over, changing maybe one filter here
and it's
and
like,
there.
do something better.
Yeah, I was just like, how can you have an album 30
Yeah,
minutes, right?
which is
10
already
songs.
too
Every
short. Honestly,
That's what I'm
like,
saying. Like I'm listening to Indica the other day. I realized the album is like an hour and
but it
11
doesn't
minutes
feel
long.
like that.
Exactly. Exactly. I can't make it the full way through the Bryson Tiller anniversary album, 30 minutes, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of long and drawn out.
He
He
could
could
have
have
done something better.
he,
But it's like, I
exactly.
don't think that they want to do better. I don't think that they're. I'm not gonna say I don't think they're capable of doing better, but it's like, I don't think that they're in the mind state to do better. I think that they, and it's just what's perpetuated. You know, it's just what's normal, is to just drop, I guess, lukewarm project and have one solid hit that can get you on radio, and then basically you're okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that. I would say it's more of the consumer
Yeah.
that decides on what continues to be played. Because if you think about it, like when Travis Scott, just for example, when he put out Al Pharaoh, his first mixtape, it was
Mm.
more received underground than it was
Of
mainstream. But
course.
once he became, yeah, like once he became mainstream, he dropped. I'll just say Birds in the Trap because he was still kind of underground when he had Rodeo come out.
Yeah.
But it's based on the consumer, so they're gonna make music depending on what's selling.
Exactly.
That's what I.
And like, that's starting to bleed into the underground a lot, because like the whole lo-fi hip hop scene really makes me mad.
It's really
It's
gentrified to me.
incredibly gentrified, because
It is.
it's not it's
I'm Jay Dilla
no,
now.
it is like, that's what makes me so mad. You think you hear like one piece of Dilla's category, or you hear like an album off of Nujabee's discography, and you're like, okay, I can do this now. It's easy. I can make money. It's like, no, it's like, you're not even understanding the history. You're not even going deep. If you're gonna listen to Dilla, at least listen to more than just Donuts. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're gonna really dive into it, but it goes back to what I'm saying. I said about, doing stuff just because it's easier to do it for finances than it is for the artistry. You may think that you're doing it for the artistry, but deep down inside, you're seeing how much money you can make from this, and then you're doing it. And that's what a lot of these white kids are doing. Because I hardly see any black kids doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Um,
That's
um,
why it's like, I hate that lo-fi label, because you're not making stuff with like the worst equipment, or like really old gear, or with like the crappiest computer you can find. You're you're making trip hop. You know what I'm saying? You're not making anything dirty or grimy, or at least not like on accident or even on purpose. You're making the cleanest, most studio ready, most like pretty music that you can find, that you can make, and you're labeling it like hip hop. That's it's different. It's different, and it's something that I feel strongly about, as you can see.
I
Yeah.
have an interesting counterpoint on that because um for one, I think that is like I feel like your sense of disdain for that because it to me it just seems really
It
uninspiring.
is.
And for me, like when I'm working on a lot of my productions, like if I'll break it down, I'll say that like a lot of what I like, you can tell, or like a lot of what I work on, you can tell some of my influences. Maybe if you know me,
Mhm.
like some my top five favorite like artists, top five that like if I gotta think of people that I really like, Kid Cudi, Tori Moi, Flying Lotus, Pharrell, and Death Grips. Death Grips are probably like the biggest wild card to me because when I listen to their music, I'll be honest, when someone says like it just sounds like a bunch of screaming, I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah. but it's musical.
Facts.
Like
Like you can,
to me, I'm just
it's a very like you can hear the passion behind it.
yeah, and it's like to take something like they can take just random shit like there's like a song called I think BB or something or like and they sampled a BB gun and it's like the way they use it I was just like what the fuck. But to me it just they're so inspiring and it's crazy and it's like it's so punk, it's like it's a whole bunch of things that I really enjoy, but they stick out to me because I've never heard anything like that.
Exactly.
And with lo-fi, what I think lo-fi is cool for like, if you're listening for you're trying to just do
Yeah.
something, whatever, that's
And you
cool.
just
I
want
get that
noise in the
completely.
background, like
Yeah. But for you to aspire to like, yes, I want to be the best lo-fi artist ever. Like
no,
to me, I just think like what's the point?
exactly.
And I draw parallels from that with like Skrillex. I
Exactly.
do not I do not enjoy dubstep that
Nobody
much. Like there's some great songs, but I feel like I would rather be the pioneer instead of like I'm I, I'm super awesome with my dubstep. Like yeah, like I'm the hottest
exactly.
dubstep guy
It's
out
going
right
through the
now.
exact same thing electronic music was going through in like 2000 from 2008 to like 2012. Everybody was trying to be like, "Oh, I'm the next like big DJ." And like they make like one song on FL Studio and it like blows up on Beatport or whatever was hot back in the day. And like put like they sell out like Ultra Music Festival or something, and that would happen like from year after year after year after year. It's the same thing now because it's honestly I don't know how people make dubstep. I don't know what type of like ritual you have to.
I was talking with Aries. I was like, to me, dubstep is like the most intricate and like craziest music ever.
It's
And I'm talking like
facts,
all of the
facts.
wubs, like you have to be on like PCP,
It is.
cocaine, and everything
It's the
else.
most intricate. It's the most like complex, boring music I've ever heard in my life.
It's very impressive, but I was just like, I don't know how they
I
do it.
don't.
And then I was just like, shout out to the people that mix that shit. I don't know how the fuck
Like
you like.
how do you master dubstep? Everything is peaking. There is no headroom. Like
Ears are in pain every time they mix that.
on me, your ears get
there's like
fatigued in 2 minutes.
there's like five different bases going on, and then like there's like 20 people
You
screaming.
got like a you got like you got a kick that's just straight sub bass, and then the rest is like it's frequencies you can't even hear, but it's definitely visual on like the Ableton clip.
Yeah, it's crazy, but like I think what we were going back to again with that value in music depending on context, like I value or I think there was like a lot of inherent value in dubstep at the time when it blew up
Yeah,
because we haven't heard anything like
facts.
it. And I think it was breaking a lot of rules and it was something different. But then when it clouds the whole entire atmosphere, it's like,
Everything
okay,
sounds the same.
I'm tired of
Yep.
eating the same meal every day. I want a refresher. I want something else.
Facts.
So
And like, but here's the thing: you said they were, and I just thought about it as soon as you said it. You said it sounded like awesome because it was nothing that we'd ever heard before, and they were breaking rules. Well, how can you break rules that had never been set before?
hey,
That's
that's
another
You know
good
what
true.
I'm saying?
point.
It's the same thing with trap. You've never heard nothing like that because it had never been made before.
Yeah, that's yeah. You're really right. Cause like when Ti first broke out, he was the one who started the whole trap music scene, and before that, you had people like I'm trying to think. Wasn't it? No, it wasn't Outkast, but
No,
they wasn't making music like that in the
yeah,
Atlanta scene.
yeah, yeah. The same with oh man, I just thought about it and it just left me. Not Gucci Man. Dang it, I can't think of it now. It was Ti and then Gucci and then oh well I mean I guess that's the same, but I was gonna say Waka Flocka.
Oh yeah, Waka Flocka. Yeah,
And then Chief Keef. That's who. Yeah, there you go.
That was a whole different wave too.
That was.
That drill.
Yeah, that Chicago drill, man.
Everybody wanted to make Chicago drill music as soon as Chief Keef popped out. Everybody, even the people down south.
Yeah, that's
You know what I'm saying? And
It's
that,
even
well. I
crazy.
mean,
oh,
I
was it?
mean, my bad. I was saying it was even crazier that he was able to make music like that. Wasn't he like 15,
He
something like
was
that?
like, he was definitely 14 or 15.
mm, mm,
I
mm,
mean, I think that says
crazy.
more about like the state of Chicago than it does about Chief Keef, because yeah, which is like it's a lot sadder looking back. Because like, what do you have to go
Hey,
through as a 15-year-old to make this type of music?
versus the white kids in their room
Facts.
that like they do it now. And to me, I honestly don't knock full of it or like knock all of it because sometimes I think if the music comes out lit or if the music's good, I still think it gets a pass. And when I talk about that, I think of Matt Ox.
Ah.
Matt Ox is the hardest little white kid I've
Is
ever heard
he
of.
is.
Like if we for me personally, I rather listen to Matt Ox than like 70% of a lot of mainstream artists.
And that's just facts. And I don't blame you.
It's way more interesting to me. Like I gotta hear what like the 12-year-old has
Like,
to
what have
say.
you been going through? Like, what's going on in your life, Matt? Like,
It was funny because like I'm trying to think of the song he had Chief Keef on. I think he's like woke up with them knots and I feel like Cheddar Bob. I was just like,
that's
damn, he
hard.
watched 8 Mile.
Facts.
I was like,
I
what the
didn't see Eight
fuck?
Mile till I was like 19.
Hey man, it's never too
You know
late.
what I'm
It's
saying?
never too late.
But no, it's I going back to I guess the whole music value thing. Lo-fi like you said, it's reminiscent of the dubstep age. It's reminiscent of a lot of like how you know how when Kenny G first came on the scene and he made jazz real bad, I'll say. And it's not all his fault. It's definitely him and Paul Hardcastle, but
Hmm.
both of whom I have like in my collection because you know I love Kenny G and I love Paul Hardcastle. But it's taking it's like it's it's like musical just white noise. You know what I'm saying? Everything sounds the same, and you know
Hmm.
to a certain point, I think that once the bubble like bursts, just like how the dubstep and like the whole like oh become the next big EDM producer bubble kind of bursts around like 2014, it's on its way out. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely like it's 3 seconds away from just imploding in on itself. And by that time, you know, that's when um the really gifted ones, the really talented ones will start to like come out the woodwork and start redoing stuff.
The next wave
Exactly.
sort of
Cause
emerges.
like
This is.
cause like when
Mhm.
dubstep went out, that's when people who were really into drum and bass and a lot of those old UK electronic genres, that's when they started taking over. Where you had guys like Scream and um I can't even think of anymore because Scream is the only one that I know for sure. But it's like when it's I think that's the same with I guess rap nowadays. Like the big trap bubble thing, I think it's on its way out. I don't know what's next after that, you know, but you know, I think it's on its way out. And I think it's gonna take R&B with it. Because R&B isn't even R&B nowadays, honestly.
I can definitely agree
True.
with you on that. I feel like the trap scene is lived. It's well not. I feel like it's lived its course for the moment, but not saying it can't come back later on. But
No,
I
absolutely
do.
not.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's about to. A new wave is about to come. It's probably gonna be electronic music, most likely. That's what I
Again,
feel like.
we already had
Probably.
the electronic music thing.
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I feel like that might be the next wave, or R and
I
B
think.
might come back.
Mhm.
It's either electronic or R and B is gonna take over again.
Do
That's
you
what
mean like within? like I'm sorry to get to that, but like, do you mean within hip hop, or like, do you mean just like in general, or
I say in
I'm
what
talking
general.
context?
I say in
I'm
general.
talking about like R&B as a whole because I remember back in like
Mm.
the '90s, R&B was really at the forefront. So I feel like I'm seeing a lot of R&B artists pop out. So I feel like that's gonna be the next wave after hip hop, and then I don't know what's gonna come after that. But
Because being honest, R&B sounds the same nowadays. And
Yeah.
it's like it all looks the same too. That's the kicker. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, a lot of R&B is taken from hip hop too. Like, or at least it's weird that like people blend the rap and hip hop kind of thing, especially with like cadences and pop. Like Ariana Grande when she was having like songs that like had like a Migos
yeah,
kind of flow to it or
it's the
something.
popular thing to take now. You know what I'm saying? Because it's what sells. But like it's not gonna last. I don't think it has too many more years. Because eventually, like even people who love it, people like the people who don't really go super in depth with music, like they're not gonna want to hear it all the time anymore. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
If it can happen in New York and it's like the birthplace of hip hop, it doesn't have a chance.
Mm.
that's very true. And like, how do you feel about the whole mumble rap scene? Do you feel like that makes music more generic, or do you feel like it's the beats that make the music
Honestly,
kind of watered down?
it it's like um oh man, oh he disappeared. Oh snap.
Ah, well,
I mean, I think I heard like some of his question. Yeah, I think he was saying
yeah, the mumble rap
yeah
scene.
um I guess it's that's a I got a weird relationship with it. I do, because on one hand I kind of like it. I kind of like it a lot, but on the other hand, I despise it down to my soul, and I don't want to seem like an old head about it. It's like, oh, all that mumble rap is just noise in the background. But it's like, I don't know. I feel like there's a time and place for everything. Mumble rap included, and I don't even really like calling it mumble rap. I just call it like trap or whatever, because that's the whole bubble that I can put it into.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Like I already know trap has its place. Like I already know trap has it's gonna be here for a while. I'm more concerned about, I guess, like that revival of like old school type of sounds. That's not really old school, but it's not a regular trap beat, so people kind of naturally assume it's old school. Like that type of sound. Like I don't know if you guys like know what I'm talking about, but like that J. Cole ish, like fake deep kind of hip hop, like
Fake woke.
yeah, like that type of hip hop. Was like, yeah, I'm different. I don't rap on triplets. I rap on boom 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 pop. Like yeah, that's what I rap on. You know what I'm saying? Like that's starting to get more popular, and that gets on my nerves. You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? Or
Yeah.
people just rapping fast just to be rapping, and they're not really talking about much.
Yeah, I feel like that's really common now. Like every video I see on Twitter or just different social medias of people trying to get like viral or go famous or whatever, it's always like something super
Yeah.
fast. I was just like, can can anyone slow
I
down?
mean, but
Like
like that's the thing. Like they think that in order to show that they have skills, oh, I have to rap fast. I can't rap like, oh, I'm not a mumble rapper. I rap words. Like no, it's like coherence is, and I always say this, like coherence is one of like the most important parts of music that people don't really pay attention to, but they pay attention to it. You know what I'm saying? Like
mm,
if I hear somebody trying to rap like it's old school, like let's take the Griselda crew for instance. The reason why I love them so much is because it's not just, oh yeah, we're doing it old school and we're like that's all we have. Like no, they're talking about the same things trap rappers talk about, but it's just so like it's the grimiest and most like sounding music. I don't even have like a word for it. It's just like ugh, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
but it's coherent, and that's what it 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 doesn't sound like somebody trying too hard.
It seems a little more original and organic,
Exactly.
I feel like.
It's organic. You know, it's natural. You can tell that like this is how they are, like for real. You know what I'm saying? It's not like hearing one of your favorite rappers from back in the day trying to make a comeback record. Like that's the saddest type of record to me. Yeah.
What, like a diss track
No,
or
no, no.
like
Like a old rapper trying to do like newer things, like Nas's
oh
like most recent album. I couldn't listen to it.
whew,
I couldn't listen to it because it's sad. Like the dude still definitely has like that talent, but it's just
It's
like
not the
Nas.
same.
Like, what are you doing? Yeah, it's not the same. Like, what are you doing? You know, like you don't have DJ Premier backing you. You don't have Large Professor backing you. You don't have Q-Tip. You don't have Pete Rock. You got Hit Boy behind you.
yeah, that's a really tough conversation, especially like how I look at it, because I feel like with rap, it's tough. Like, say with Nas,
Hmm.
right? It's tough to have a career, and at least in my opinion, 20 plus years and then not innovate at all. Like people get tired of hearing the same stuff. Because I remember people really used to kind of like talk about Jay Z, like
Exactly.
I'm tired of hearing about this guy or whatever. Like, why doesn't he like? And there's people on the other side that's like, why isn't he talking about selling drugs or whatever? And they're like, oh well, his life is different. He's like, I don't give a shit about that. It's like, well, do you want him to be
Or do you
authentic,
want him to
or do you
grow
want
up?
him?
Like, yeah. And I think
Yeah,
Jay Z did that masterfully because he still did it in a way where it's like, okay, like he's definitely more grown up, but it's fire, and not in a way where it's like, oh, it's fire because he's old. It's just fire, period. You know, I think that's what makes all the difference. Like the most recent Wu Tang album was sad, you know,
yeah.
and like I think it's called A Better Tomorrow, and
Hmm.
it's like, and maybe it's because of the beats, but it's just like it doesn't sound the same. It doesn't feel the same. You know what I'm saying? Like it does.
I felt similar to that with like a Tribe Called
Yeah,
Quest,
like
a little bit.
that doesn't sound like the tribe that I grew up with, and it doesn't have to sound exactly the same because I love the Love Movement as much as I love the Low End Theory, and they're like as opposite as albums can really go as far as sound. But it's just, I don't know, if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna be old, if you're gonna be like an older dude and you're gonna be spitting, you're gonna be an MC, like stick to your roots.
Run the Jewels. I just thought about it. I was like, who are some old people that like I'm still like
Yeah,
okay.
Run the Jewels is fire, and they're like 40 and like 39 or something. Like they have kids. Like Czarface is one of the most fire groups of hip hop that I've ever seen, and every single one of them has like a mortgage and a family. And what's wild about it is Czarface has Inspector Deck from the Wu Tang Clan, and
Hmm.
he's even sharper now than he was back then.
Yeah, he's definitely like a I think below the tier, like when people talk about the Wu Tang Clan, because I think it's mostly like Method Man, Ghostface Killer, maybe just well,
Nah,
yeah, Jizza,
I mean,
RZA,
people don't really talk about Jizza that all that much. They may talk about
yeah,
they might talk about Raekwon a little bit more, but
yeah.
if it's not Method Man and it's not RZA or Ghostface, then I don't think it's they're really talking about
I
him.
think Jizza solidified off the Liquid Swords
He
album.
doesn't have to
Like
make
besides,
facts. He doesn't have to make another album.
yeah, I think that like that body of work is absolutely remarkable. But yeah, Inspector Deck, that's kind of like the You God and Capadonna.
I mean, Capadon is fire. You got uh,
Yeah, they're not
yeah,
bad. I'm just saying, like, when you come up with
yeah,
names, like, they're always
the
like
last
the
couple, yeah,
last. Old Dirty Bastard, though,
yeah.
I think top
Of
tier.
course,
Top
but
tier.
like he supersedes like Wu Tang for me in a little bit. Like he'll always be Wu Tang in my mind, but like ODB was
Oh yeah,
always like
he exists in his own realm,
exactly.
just completely different.
You know, I wanted to ask because like as soon as I said it, it came to my mind. How important do beats like play in the role. You know what I'm saying? Because of like what makes the difference between someone like Nas's most recent album or Benny the Butcher's most recent album or even Freddie Gibbs' most recent album. You know what I'm saying? Because it's all like
Mm.
old school type of stuff, but it's Nas's just doesn't feel the same. And he's a better MC logically than both of them. You know, so like what it shouldn't be. I figured like it should be all about skill, but it's like once I hear it, it's like this. I hear what you're saying, but it's just I hate it.
Well,
You
I
know,
feel like for that argument, um, I feel like the beats need to cater directly towards the artist and what the artist like, what type of time the artist is on. For example, like recently, 21 Savage and Metro Boomin, they put out Savage Mode 2, and I feel that's a perfect example of the artist and rapper. I mean, producer and rapper chemistry. So I
yeah,
feel like with the most recent Nas album that you were talking about, like I feel like yeah, Hit Boy's a good producer, but in my opinion, I feel like some of those beats didn't really match Nas's, you know, the original Nas sound that we're all originally,
exactly. And they
used to.
don't. You know, they don't match them
Yeah,
up.
he's not really like I've ne- I won't say I've never done this, but like Nas, I don't think of this as a grimy beat. Like in like NY State of Mind or like New York State of Mind, like that's probably one of my favorite Nas's songs. But I
Yeah,
was just like the beat just it seems eerie and just like
it
how he
sounds like New York. You know,
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that was his vibe, I guess. And I feel like now it's more mainstream, but it's like
what are you
it's
doing?
like you're trying to it's like doing a reverse jigsaw puzzle. It's like you're trying to start from the ends and force a piece that doesn't really fit. And I think just it's easier for a lot of people to tell.
Yeah,
S- Same thing for what was brought up with the 21 Savage album.
that's a perfect like producer and rapper chemistry.
Yes, Metro did his thing. I think for one, it is so unfair to have like a Metro production like that. It's just so like niggas can't
No,
compare.
they can't. Like
And
Yeah.
he is like
stepping
the
like
top.
yeah, yeah, stepping on niggas though, like that song I think is a good example because when I heard that, I was like, this is so old school. Like I was kind of surprised when 21 Savage had that. I was like, this is like some Easy A. I said Easy A, Easy E,
Yeah,
just like Boys in the Hood kind of vibes.
it's
But
definitely
I
like
really
a
liked
crip
it.
walking song. Like
Yeah, I really liked it though because it was different from anything I heard from 21 Savage. So I was kind of like, okay, this works. Like like it seemed still a little bit more modern to where like it's not I don't know, it's not like damn, this is really like he's trying so hard to be
yeah,
different. It still seemed like what he did was go over like something out of his realm, but he still brought 21 Savage to that.
yeah, yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I guess in terms of Nas, is like he had that. That's the thing. Like he had like that great relationship, but then he just decided, I'm just not gonna work with them hardly ever again. You know what I'm saying? Like for his first album, he got the best of the best of the best talent in New York.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it was like, how do you how do you go from that to something like the Lost Tapes 2? Like
Yeah.
Lost Freestyle hurt me. Like I want you to like when I first heard the snippet, it was like because I saw it was like produced by Stack Selected. I was like, all right. And then like I heard the first like beginning sample, and another day when we were, I was like, oh, he's back. And then the beat dropped, and my face changed.
It's like, oh, what?
It was like okay. I just immediately turned it off. I still haven't listened to the whole project.
Uh, I mean, I think beat selection is just important
It's
because I feel like there's some artists. It's kind of like say when you're like in a car, whether you're driving or like you're just in it, and someone passes you up or does
yeah,
something, and you drive up, and you're like, I knew it. I knew it was this person. Like no matter who it is, it could be like a little Asian
Yeah,
lady, a little it could be an old guy, whatever. It could be anybody in that seat, but you're
I
always like,
knew it.
I knew it was
Yeah,
him. And for our artists, for me, like Currency, for me, Currency has been like the most consistent. Like I've never been disappointed with Currency. Sometimes I'm not in the mood for him, but
you'll never be disappointed by him. No,
I've never been disappointed. But the beat
it's
selection,
always
like
great. Yes,
it's always phenomenal. Like I can never just be like, damn, that was like so when I think about that, I think maybe that's just an artist thing.
it
Like some
definitely is an
people try
artist
to
thing.
get a shitty beat
Like, so
and make it better.
that's the thing though. Like, I guess it brings up the question: who is the worst beat picker?
That's an interesting thing that you bring up because a lot of the times when beat selections are chosen, a lot of the times the A&R sometimes can pick the beat. It's
Yeah,
just it's really weird how it works sometimes. Sometimes the artist picks the beat, sometimes it's the A&R, or sometimes the producer just says, I'm gonna play you some beats and you just pick one. But also that also brings up another question I want to ask you guys. Like, do you feel the age of the mega producer is dead, or do you feel like that could have another resurgence in the future?
I think it's
Ooh.
still kind of here, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's possible. It's just that like it depends on what that producer entails. Cause like for me when I think about it, like and I hate to sound like I'm sucking off Toriyama, but like literally when you go through his catalog, it to me at least, I'm just astounded from how every single album sounds different, but it still sounds similar. Like I still see the connection. It's like an invisible kind of like line that connects
Yeah,
everything. And it's like whether it's more like earthy and organic kind of like I'll say like alternative or like band
yeah.
music. I'm like, okay, that's cool. It's nice. Or if it's like eclectic electronic, I'm like, yeah, this is
But you
cool.
like you
Or if
know
it's
it's
more,
Tori Moa because of
I know it's him. It's like he has this weird signature footprint in the music that it just makes everything good. But at the same time too, like I'm itching for him to produce for someone. Like I feel like that would be crazy, but like all of his music sounds different. Meanwhile, like for like when you talk about mega producers, I think it's interesting because you have someone like Metro Boomin, right?
yeah.
He can make a whole wide range of different tracks, and like I sometimes I don't know it's Metro, but then other times I'm like, yeah, this is
Yeah,
he. This is
and I
he.
think it's more fun like hearing a song and being like, "Oh, this is fire," and then finding out it's Metro later.
I'm like, yep, I knew it. It's back to the car thing.
Yeah,
I knew it was him.
I guess.
Yeah, that goes. No, my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No, no, you good, you good, you good.
that goes back to like producers having a particular sound. Like I feel like with Metro in particular, I can kind of tell when a beat is his because he usually his beat arrangement is different. So like for his hook, he'll have like a few sounds playing. Then for his uh second hook, he'll have different sounds playing than his verse. He switches it up. So I'm very good at being able to tell which sounds are his and which sounds aren't his.
Hmm.
So I just found it really interesting when Theo brought it up. I mean, sorry, Teddy brought it up um, about Metro's producing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's I think for you to be a mega producer though, that you literally have to have like a foot in every direction, or you got to be someone like Chucky. Like again, like the inspiration for music has to be there, but probably if you listen to more, like a
hmm,
wider range of music, it's easier for you to go in the area. Cause like
Yeah,
absolutely.
something that's interesting to me is like Diplo.
Yeah,
Like I really like
yeah,
his sets and his music, and for me, he's not an artist that like I'm gonna listen to this Diplo album, but like he has a lot of songs I really like, and I really like his like. If there's ever a concert or something for Diplo, I'm gonna go because I like how he blends
exactly.
music, different stuff like
Like you
that.
would never tell, you
And
could never tell that it was like, oh wow, Diplo did this because he does so
yeah,
many different types
Starboy,
of things where it's like
Starboy,
exactly like
that
you would never have thought like this. Well, I won't say it like that, but you would never think that somebody like Diplo would have made something like that.
yeah, I look back after, I was like, okay, I can kind of see it. But also, I think, especially art, like DJs too, I think they have it different from producers. Like sometimes when they play music, it's more of like in homage to something. Cause I know, like, especially with like when Drake was kind of getting on that like popularizing bounce thing, I thought it was crazy because Diplo did something, I think, like Express Yourself or whatever, and I think he collaborated with like someone from here.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was either like Big Frida. Yeah, I think it may have been Big Frida. And I was just like, damn. Like a lot of the DJs have always been playing what's hot and looking for that next new sound.
Exactly.
And I feel like for you to be a mega producer or whatever, if if you're not dominating one specific sound, the best thing for you
Is
to
do
do is probably
everything.
just everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can definitely agree. Because it's like when you're a DJ, it's you like take me for instance. Like y'all have heard me like DJ before. You know that I don't really play like the usual. Like I'll play a little bit of everything. And it's just you play based on not just on your own taste and interest, but you play based on, I guess, um crowd feeling too, and what you think would fit best in that situation. And so you gain a skill where it's like you're able to tell what can fit where in a certain situation. And I think that translates real well into, I guess, producers of nowadays, because it's like if you can if you can do that in a live situation where you're thinking on the fly and you don't have time to sit down and relax and plan everything out, then you can definitely do it when it's time to sit down, relax, and plan everything out.
Yeah, that's true. So, and some of my favorite producers too, like they're not like I think well, I'll say like some of my favorite producers are able to and I think that's we're in an age where like producer is a blanket term and can mean like 50 different
Yeah,
things.
yes, we can.
And I don't try to get gung ho about it. I feel like if you produce music to some degree, like you're a producer. But I think my favorites either way, like they like you got people in one corner that's like Pharrell, but then I think there's other people too that like it's really not the music that they make more so than like the flavor or
Yeah,
like their
yeah,
palette. So
hmm
like for me, I'm thinking of like K Tronada, like it's just like that Janet Jackson remix he had of If.
yeah,
He didn't really reinvent the
no,
wheel, so
you
to speak.
didn't.
Like he didn't make a completely different new
But it's
song, but
fire.
the fact that he remixed it, or like his rendition of it, he produced a completely new song in my
Yeah,
eyes.
yeah.
So I think that's something to be said versus like now if you go on YouTube or just like whatever and you look up producer, it's it's kind of like a weird geared culture now. It's kind of like go on splice.com and download our newest
exactly. Like
samples and loops.
it's a thing where it's like you have to do these specific steps in order to be called this specific thing.
Yeah, and I'm not knocking
Not to cut,
splice or like samples or loops or anything. But yeah, you can go Eris.
no, not to cut you off. But do you feel like there's a difference between a this is an open question for anybody? Do you feel like there's a difference between a producer and a beat maker? Because a lot of people they find that there's a difference because with the whole I don't know the type beat scene, they feel like people make beats quick. They're not necessarily considered a producer. But I feel like a
Mm,
beat maker and a producer, in my opinion, are two different things. I feel like a beat maker is just somebody who just makes beats nonstop for monetary reasons, but a producer, on the other hand, is somebody who works with the artist and tells the artist what can fit here and what couldn't fit here. So I
Hmm.
just wanted to see y'all's input on that.
I think well, I'll I'll throw out my first kind of ideas and then I'll let Chucky
Yeah,
go. But I think beat maker has changed connotation, sort of like as like the decades have gone by.
Mhm.
When I think of like beat maker back then, I think of like Pete Rock, Ninth Wonder, and I feel like you could throw in producer or like beat maker for either or of those artists. Like it's interchangeable back then. Now it's a little different. Like if I think of a beat maker, I can think of like anybody can be a beat maker.
Hmm.
But producer, like I feel like sometimes that is like in the realm of you produce the full song, you take in account arrangements, key, different shit like that. Cause I know people compared like I don't know why, but they compared Kanye, like his production, and then they were saying like he's the next Quincy Jones or whatever, and like Quincy Jones was like, "Did you really fucking compare Kanye to me? Do you know like Thriller? Do you know everything that I did? Like Kanye doesn't know anything about like these orchestras or whatever like at the time. So I get the difference, and that's just like off the top of my head what I think of. So Chucky, you have the floor.
Okay. Well, um, I guess since I'm in like that community, it's I don't really see a. Well, I mean, I understand exactly where both of y'all are coming from. Where it's like, okay, there's definitely a distinction between somebody who just does it just to like, okay, now I'm getting paid, to like an artist who can be like, okay, here's what it sounds like, here's what I can do with it, here's where I can change it. But I don't know. It's all the beat makers that I listen to, guys like DiBiase or Ollie or Oblieve or
Mm.
Actor or Zeus the Elevated, even guys like that are I guess you wouldn't really call them regular beat makers, but guys like Daedalus. Um,
Oh, he's
yeah, like I
great.
don't. I guess like the distinction it's not there for me because I see what these guys can do and I see what this community can do, and I don't know. I don't think necessarily speed or how fast you can do something or how fast you can make something applies to or makes you a certain thing. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that. I don't know. I don't know because I see exactly where both of y'all are coming from, but at the
Yeah.
same
Well,
time,
I mean, when you bring that up, um, yeah, I don't think speed or whatever makes a difference either, too, because like you have somebody like the weekend. I've heard stories about him. Like he'll come up with songs and like different things and stuff like that in like 5 to like 20 minutes, like very
yeah,
short studio time. But that doesn't take away from the art.
yeah,
And when I think of like the beat maker producer thing too, like you brought up Daedalus, I'm thinking of like Flying Lotus
exactly,
now.
yeah.
Primarily most of what he does is beat making. Like I think it spawns from the same kind of thing. But for me, what makes this is a random example, but like what makes the difference between Zaytoven and Flying Lotus for me is like I could respect Zaytoven as a great beat maker, but I would never sit down and listen completely to just Zaytoven
And
beats.
that's the
But Flying
yeah, and
Lotus,
that's the difference. Like, who can you sit down and listen to, like, and it's just the instrumentals, I guess,
yeah, yeah. To me, like Flying Lotus, like his production for me is like absolutely
stellar.
it's off the
Yeah,
wall. It's like a lot of like video game kind of influence, electronic, jazz.
exactly.
It's really out there. And at the heart of it all, there's still like that Jay Dilla influence. That's one
Yeah,
thing I really like about him too. He loves Jay Dilla, but it's not like I am Jay Dilla. It's kind of like he
this
makes
is my like my Dilla experience, and this is me paying homage to him.
yeah. And I think I look at him as like a
Yeah,
producer. But he does beat making,
exactly.
like it's this so I understand completely.
Yeah, I guess like what separates somebody from listening to Mad Lib beats, and then somebody separating from listening to I don't know. Who's the baby's producer? Jetson.
Just, just
Justin made another
Jetson, yo, my friend Jalil,
oh,
my friend Jalil was like, Jetson made the same one.
the same beat.
Like, I hope that's not like a diss or nothing, but it's just, I like, I get
yeah.
where he's coming from. You know, like what prevents you from listening to I guess what prevents you from listening to something like Oh No or someone like 1 2 as opposed to
Hmm.
listening to just straight um DJ Mustard beats, you know?
Well, I would just say it's based off of who the artist is and who's popping right now because that's all it really is. They want to listen to whoever's popular.
Yeah,
If, if that's what it really gets down to.
that's facts. I guess well then I guess I have another question, you know. Then how come lo-fi hip hop, and I put that in quotes, how come lo-fi hip hop is kind of getting so big? Because it's not popular really, or it's not like mainstream popular, and yet white kids are like hopping on the scene and getting paid off of it. You know,
Mm.
That's a very good
Uh,
question. I don't know.
like I don't know how that, like maybe it's like bots. You know, they do, and I hate to like insinuate something like that, but like maybe they just like they put it on
the music
Spotify and it's just like
machines.
okay, bot put this many plays, and then you know, like I don't know, I personally don't know many people who listen to like those type of beats like that, you know. But if they do, it's always like, oh, I just listen to it because it helps me sleep, or I just listen to it because it's just something to put on in the background.
Yeah, no one's ever going to a lo-fi concert. Am I right?
Look, see, but that's different because they have like beat concerts and everybody like, and
Yeah.
people go to those, but like nobody I know will go to like a chilled cow live stream session because nobody like
Mm.
you know what I'm saying, like you can't, none of your favorite artists are there because you don't know who the artists are. You know,
Yeah.
it's like
There's a major sense of that too. It's like anonymous uh vigilante music makers.
Batman music makers. Hey yo, that's nice.
That was funny.
It's like, yeah, you don't know who I am, but
Mhm.
send the music, I mean send the money over here
And
to
like
my PayPal.
I think that's the problem where people don't care really if you know their name as long as they're getting paid. You know, it's not a lot of artistic integrity. You know, like they know their music sounds the same as everybody else's, but it doesn't matter because you're gonna listen to it anyway.
Yeah. Um completely different. I just thought about something, but like for me especially, like someone who grew up playing like a lot of different games and whatever, like I really enjoyed like different
Yeah,
soundtracks. And this is two ideas that I have right now. One, I kind of miss the prevalence of good rock in other genres
yeah,
like metal stuff like that. Like I miss that sort of existing because again, it would just be a different kind of flavor,
yeah.
but
I mean,
like Run DMC, different stuff like that. Like collaborations like that, I don't think even possibly exist anymore.
unless it's like, well, I mean, it exists. It's just not the same. You know what I'm saying? Like people put like
Mm,
a whole bunch of like electric guitars and rock-ish sounds to be like different, but it's not the same. You know what I'm saying? It's not like
yeah.
you won't ever hear someone put the Pixies on their track and try to rap over it. I don't think you'll ever see that.
Mm,
Like
yeah.
you'll never hear.
Or maybe you might now.
I mean, hey,
You just started something.
I hope I didn't. The last thing I
Yeah.
want to hear is Drake over like brand new. Like I don't want to hear Drake over Mac DeMarco.
Yeah. But yeah, the other thing I was getting from that was also like some of the video games that I play, um, and it's partially my fault too, because the first things I kind of think of is like 2K and Madden right now, the casual kind of
Ah,
stuff.
yeah,
The soundtracks are awful for the most part. Like it's some of the worst rap and other stuff I've ever heard of, and it's always like it's music that like we gonna get a touchdown, yeah, woo woo, like it's just like random bad music relating to the game, and I was just like, why can't they just throw good music on
because
there?
that's too much effort. You're asking too much of them. They don't. The goal is to get stuff out as fast as possible, and quality is just an afterthought.
Makes
You know what
sense.
I'm saying?
Cause like especially on 2K, like I'll be listening and I'll hit like there's some good songs. Don't get me wrong. Like they have some Pop Smoke on like the 2K21,
You hitting
and
layups on people listening to Meet the Woo?
yeah, man, it's cool for that. But like other songs out here, and I'm just like, who the fuck is this? What is this? Why? And it's like the song does nothing for me. And I really hate to bring this up too, but for Madden, there's this song, I think it's called Lemonade, and Denzel Curry is featured on it.
Oh,
It is probably one of the worst songs I've heard like ever.
not Denzel.
Yeah, I want to play it. I think we'd get in trouble like if I played it, like copyright
We
stuff.
probably will.
But I'm telling you, like he's featured on the song. I'm gonna look it up. I'm actually gonna look it up right now. It is one of the worst songs I've ever heard.
That makes me sad.
And I was just wondering if like how do you guys feel about that? Like soundtracks, games, different shit.
Oh, soundtracks. I don't. They used to be crafted with such like love. Like all the old Tony Hawk games used to be just. It, I feel like stuff like Def Jam Fight for New York and the old NBA Live games and I don't know, like those types of games, they used to always have, if they were using like licensed music and stuff, they always used to take such care and such like real deep, like concern about it. Like you could tell somebody went into it and they were like, okay, if we're gonna do this, like we have to really think about who we're choosing for the soundtrack because whatever we pick, it's gonna set the mood of the whole game. It doesn't matter how fire the gameplay is or how cool the story is, whatever story may be in the Tony Hawk game. If the music doesn't match, it's not gonna feel the same. You know what I'm saying? And I have a feeling like a lot of those games put a lot of kids on to music that otherwise they might not have heard. You know,
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, for sure.
but nowadays it's kind of like and it kind of reflects the state of video games as well. But stuff like 2K and Madden, they don't bother with the soundtracks because they don't bother with the game as a whole. You know, they're selling you the
Yep,
same
that's
game
mhm.
every single year, and it's like, why would you? If you're gonna do it, if you're gonna be lazy, at least be fully lazy. You know, don't just fix one thing over and over again. You know, like use like do the same thing.
Yeah, that's kind of how
Yeah.
I felt about the GTA soundtrack. Because I remember at first the GTA 5 soundtrack, it wasn't hitting for me at first, and then they started adding like they had the baby in there, and they had some ASAP Ferg songs. I was like, yeah, driving around hitting licks to this music just fits so much better.
Yeah, I guess like I I think they just don't bother with it now because so many people just put on their own music and then just go. You know,
Oh
That's
yeah,
'cause
true.
I know
That's
that
true.
I know, and it's like it's a little nerdy, but like I like before my computer broke, like I just be playing Minecraft and listen to like uh I've been listening to the Ghetto Boys, which
Mm.
like it doesn't fit the vibe of the game at all, but that's what I was on. Like
Yeah, that's interesting. I have a thing like that too. I remember like mostly when I was younger, but now too, I would had a sort of phase where like I would play certain games in different albums like synonymously enough to where like I could hear the album and I'm like, damn, I want to play that game,
yeah.
or vice versa. I'm playing the game and if I don't hear the album, I'm yearning for it. And I played a few of the games like Deus Ex Human Revolution.
Ah,
I don't know if you guys know about
yeah, I know
that.
about it.
I was playing Casey Veggies, like both of his albums. I think um yeah, it was just weird. I was just playing Casey Veggies to that. Um I'm trying to think of another thing too. But also I thought some soundtracks, if they're featured in movies, it's really a big hit or
Yeah.
miss. But when the songs got popularized after the movies, sometimes they lost like their touch for me. And like I thought of that with like "Damn It Feels Good to Be a Gangster" with Ghetto Boys, because like after that movie, I can't even think of the name of the movie, but
Oh,
like
I know exactly what movie you're talking about, but I know, yeah, I know how you feel.
it did the opposite. Like the movie made the song seem better to me. I was like, yeah,
Facts. And it's weird how movies can do that. I remember seeing. I don't know if y'all have seen it, but Fight Club.
Oh yeah,
Hmm.
Fight Club.
It's one of the. I always say it's one of those movies that like every dude has a poster of Fight Club in their room, but like they've never seen Fight Club.
Oh yeah, that's facts.
Fight Club.
I had a Fight Club shirt before I even
Facts.
seen.
Nobody knew what it was
Wow.
about.
Somebody's a rule breaker. You know, that's funny.
Nah, but like I copped the VHS of it because like that's what I like to watch my movies on. I was like, you know what? I've never seen it, might as well. And like at the very end of the movie, they have no other songs like in that movie except the Pixies' "Where Is My Mind." And ever since like I heard it in that movie, I associate like not only like do I associate that song with that movie and like that ending scene, but like the feeling that that scene had is always with that music,
Mm.
which is weird because it's like if you listen to that song, it's very like kind of sad, but the movie ends on like a really hopeful note. So it's like the song sounds hopeful to me, you know?
Yeah, that's a good song. That's that's one of them good ones.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think casting for music is important too. Uh, when I think of soundtracks and movies, like songs that did really well with movies too. I think of The Weeknd. I can't think of that song, but it's like that 50 Shades of Grey. Is it worth it?
Yeah,
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that song was
As
perfect.
bad as that movie
Like,
was, it fit good.
yeah, it fit the movie great, like amazing. I think the movie was super weird. For one, I didn't even want to see it, but just let me just tell you this: things were weird, and somehow on Valentine's Day, I was like with some I was actually with one of my cousins and like his college friends, and I think I may have been in high school at the time, and I was just like, oh yeah, I'm with college chicks. I'm watching 50 Shades of Grey on
Boy,
Valentine's
wow.
Day. I was like, yeah, I'm cool. It was a weird experience to say the least. Like in the movie theater, out of nowhere, it just smelled like syrup. I was just like, what the fuck? Like who has syrup in the
Somebody
theater?
eating
And
pancakes
like,
in the middle of the theater, bro? Oh nah.
yeah. And like we were watching the movie and like one guy was like, why this white bitch why she got a flip phone if she fucking a nigga with money? She was like, can't be me.
Hey, bro. Hey, yo.
And it was funny, but like out of everything, like when they were showing trailers and stuff, and I'd hear the song, I'd just be like, "Oh, I'm tired of hearing the song." And it wasn't because the song was bad. It was just
I
like
heard it in this
the
movie.
song is, yeah, the song is better than the movie. Like,
I will say this though. I will say this. Twilight ruined the Radiohead song for me forever.
ooh,
And it was on In
I wish we had
Rainbows, which
sound
is my
effects.
favorite like record of theirs. So I can never listen to it again.
I wish we had sound effects to play like air horns
Yeah.
or something.
No, that'd be tight.
That's big facts.
It's weird
Big facts.
because like I really do appreciate the Twilight movies because they are some of the worst pieces of film I've ever seen, but I enjoy them to the max.
I was talking to Aries about that the other day. It's like some content is so bad that like you're really impressed with like,
how bad?
wow.
Exactly. Like you enjoy it that much more because it's like you put your all into this and it was still awful. But
Yeah.
it's awful in a way where it's like I love to watch this, you know. So really you did your job.
Sometimes sometimes I'm also watching because there's a game I started playing. I think it's called Vampire, and like you're a vampire.
Oh.
Yeah, obviously. But like it just starts off so stupid. Like you wake up, you're like, ugh, and you go and bite this lady, and he's like, oh no, what have I done? My sister. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like you didn't know you didn't know that was your sister.
Oh
But
no. This one woman who I couldn't have mistaken for anybody else was my
it
sister.
sounded like a really bad porno. I was just like, what the fuck? But I couldn't not play the game because I was like, does it get worse or like does it get better? I have to decide like
It's
whether
that
or not
sick
I'm gonna
curiosity where
continue.
it's like I have to see where this goes.
Yeah, so bad content, I get it. I get it. But I think 50 Shades of Grey had a sequel. I was not in attendance.
Ah.
Nah,
No, it
that was
definitely had like two more movies that nobody saw. like, like nobody I know was like, "Hey, yo, real talk." Them 50 Shades of Grey movies, top tier. But
Yeah,
it's like,
nobody was.
I think it's the same for like Lena Waithe movies
Mm,
because nobody saw Queen and Slim.
hey, what do you think, Aries?
Queen Slim was. mm, It it was- it was it was. I'm gonna say like I thought it was good when it came out, but then like now that I'm thinking back on it, it's like the timing of it and like I'm just tired of seeing those kind of movies of black people. Like I want to see black people doing stuff like with magic and shit like that. I don't want to see. I don't want to see another like cop drama. Like we got to run from the
M-
police or some shit.
I mean, but like that's
Bonnie
what
and
sells.
Clyde
That's people
featuring
make that because
niggas.
that's what they want to see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You know, like I'm sure like more people would want to see like a black like adventure film or a black romantic comedy. I mean, to be fair, we got Tyler Perry for that, but we need more than just Tyler Perry for that.
yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
Actually, completely, completely different. But I'm I'm actually kind of tired of like the push for black people and like different like stuff. Like, yeah, this new black
No,
movie,
I get it. I
and
get exactly what you mean.
it's it's not for me that like I don't want black people and stuff. Like I'm all for like diversity and equality, different things like
Yeah.
that. Representation matters, but like, can we make a push for good stuff?
Yes.
Like I know it's a crazy idea, just something good and different. And then like also, I do want to see more diverse stuff, and I feel like actual diversity, not just black people. And I don't want to sound like a Uncle Tom or whatever, but like I want to see an Asian nigga be a superhero or something. I want to see like some Indian chick do something,
Thanks.
and it's not like stereotypical. Like she's like at a food place or
Exactly. Like you
something or
want to see
whatever.
him like
Like
in just regular situations
yeah, because I feel
because that's
like
what real life is about. Like it's not just like oh Asian man at a Chinese food restaurant. Like
yeah, I just want to see some like actual diversity in
people
shows
don't
or
know how
like
to do that
cinema.
yet. You know, because it's like they're used to. I hate to say it like this, but they're used to just white people. You know, like that's why most of
Yeah, if
the
it's not
Oh
white
yeah,
people, it's black
It's,
people.
it's like that's why most of the movies that you see like black people in, it's like either set in the city or in the hood. It's never like in the country. It's never in the suburbs. Hardly ever really in the suburbs, I should say.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's just that's just how it's always been because people are still just now getting used to putting different types of people in types of in all types of movies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Funny transition.
yeah. I definitely relate. But to wrap up the podcast, I have a few like random questions I just want to ask to see what you guys are feeling about. So to
Hmm.
start off, how do you guys feel about the whole Prince and Michael Jackson argument? Which one do you think is?
I'm definitely That's a hard question because I love Michael Jackson and I love Prince. But I think when people argue Prince versus Michael Jackson, they're arguing more like Purple Rain versus Thriller. When it's like you should be arguing anything else Prince has made versus anything else Michael Jackson has made.
Mm.
Good point. What do you think
Um.
about that?
Because bad is between bad and dangerous, those are I don't want to say those are his best albums because my favorite Michael Jackson album is Off the Wall. But
Mm.
like all of his non-mainstream music stuff is so fire. But it's like it's the same for Prince. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
Prince is so musically gifted and he's so like I
Yeah. I feel like Prince is like the argument is weird to me, but I'll just say how I feel. I feel like as far as music and feeling goes, I would take Michael over Prince, and that's just because like some of the stuff Michael does, it's a little risque and different. Like especially the ad libs. Like I haven't heard anything like
yeah,
that. But the music is palatable. Like it's easy to digest.
facts.
Prince is on a different spectrum. Some of his shit is so fucking weird and
That
different. Like
yeah.
I Will Die for You. Like I don't get
No,
it.
but
He's
it's
like
like it's so like
It's
But
visceral.
it's fire. I Would Die for You is such a fire song, and it's such a
Yeah.
Prince song.
Yeah, it's I like it, and his music I feel like isn't for everyone, but that's cool. But as far as talent goes, Prince, like, for one, Prince I think did the production for like the first
Yeah,
Batman.
he definitely did.
Party Man, like stuff like that to me is absolutely
Like,
insane.
how
And
do you make a soundtrack for Batman as Prince?
yeah, and like the different instruments, the singing, uh I just think he's a different talent. Like
Definitely, it's like comparing Quincy Jones and someone like Herb Alpert. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Or
Yeah.
someone
it's
even
funny.
better, or someone like it's like comparing Miles Davis and John Coltrane. Like that's different. You're
Mm,
comparing two different types of, or Herbie Hancock and Miles Davis is probably a better,
yeah,
because it's like you're comparing two
yeah.
different types of one can't come on top of the other. You know?
That's
I
very
think it's funny too, because it's like I want to use like that Twitter thing where it's like, why do we have to compare bad bitches against one another? Like, I I feel like Michael and Prince were both bad bitches in their own rights.
For sure.
that's basically the argument. Yeah.
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 But I'm solidified. I think Michael just had cooler music. I think that more people could relate to, and Michael just seemed. They both seemed really supreme.
They were.
Like, but Prince is a force. Cause I respect Prince also off the fact that Rick James hated Prince, or like he was so jealous of
Facts.
Prince because he was
How do
like,
you get
that motherfucker.
how do you get Rick James to be jealous of you? How do you get
Yeah,
Rick
bro,
James to be like, dang, he's too tough for me?
this nigga's
Like,
good. I'm gonna be out of a job. It's a little motherfucker.
I respect Prince and Michael both because they both really fought against like record labels and the really terrible contracts that they had. Like Prince spent his whole life trying to get off of Warner Brothers, just like Michael tried his whole life to get off of, ooh, I want to say Sony, and like he was starting to buy stuff that Sony had, and so was Prince because he was starting to buy back his masters. He was starting to buy back other artists and stuff. I think. Don't quote me on that because I could be super wrong, but like I think he was buying back just like a whole bunch of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it's unfortunate that he passed away because he was like making a lot of headway for like better artist contracts and stuff like that.
And he died. So did Michael.
I mean,
Conspiracy
to be fair,
theories.
Kanye should have died too, but here we are.
Here we are.
He
Yeah. For
released a
me,
whole like
um,
500-page like contract, and he's great. Like,
Let me just post all my shit on
fact,
Twitter.
like personal information, everything. He was just like, yeah, this is my contract, and he's running for president.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
yeah. That there's that.
yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I would feel like only because I didn't grow up listening to Prince, Michael Jackson would be, you know, the one I mainly would gravitate to. But also, I had another, or a last hot take for you guys. Like, who do
What's
you
up?
feel is overrated or underrated in either, today's music scene or, prior music scenes?
Ooh, okay.
Like a specific
I can tell
artist?
you specific artists.
Mm.
Yeah, artist or genre, either one.
Okay. All right. Let's start off with underrated
Okay.
first.
Yeah, because overrated will make somebody mad.
Well, no, I feel like overrated is that easy
Yeah,
one. I want to save that for the
yeah.
end. Underrated artist. Hmm.
I'll let
That's a
Teddy
tough
go first because I got a couple underrated.
an underrated artist. I'm trying to think of like maybe a genre or who's underrated. Hmm. Do you have one yourself, Aries?
For underrated, I would say, That's hard because dependent. Well, I don't know. I would have a genre that's underrated, but not necessarily an artist per se. Off the top of my head, I would say like alternative music for me. I would feel is underrated.
Now that's interesting
Mm,
because like if you go back like 10 years or more, alternative was ruling the radio.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
Yeah,
especially in the '90s
facts.
too.
And now look at it, like it's an underground type of genre.
Hmm.
That's interesting. I like that. That's I can get down with that.
I'm weak. I'm actually stumped trying to think of an underrated artist
Oh,
now.
you mean like underrated is in like the current like radio like people who are popular?
it can be in
Uh
the past or you know recent. It
Mm,
doesn't matter. Just in general.
I guess
oh, past or recent.
past.
Okay.
I would say in the past, ooh, AZ was real underrated.
AZ. I
The
mean,
guy who
that's
I don't want to say the guy because he's been on like really good albums since his he was the guy who was featured on Illmatic.
Oh,
Oh yeah, I'm familiar
Yeah,
with AZ.
yeah. But he like he's real underrated, even though he did blow up. Like I still feel like him and Pete Rock and CL Smooth are underrated. As much praise as they get, I don't think I still think that they're pretty underrated.
Mm,
Just like De La Soul is underrated because they blew up and they're still like probably one of my favorites. You know what I'm saying? They worked with
mm,
so many different types of people and so many different genres to where it's like you've definitely heard a De La Soul song somewhere, but they've never reached that point to where it's like they're a household name like that.
mm. I think it's easier for me to work within the realm of music, like with hip
Hmm.
hop, kind of. For underrated artist for me, I would say is Dr. Dre. I think Dr. Dre is underrated in terms of like when you think of the grand scheme of hip hop and like rap, or even when you bring up rappers, I think Dr. Dre is a pretty solid rapper
Yeah,
just alone off of
yeah.
rap. So then when you throw in production,
It's like
then I'm like, okay,
he should be getting a lot more love than he's getting.
yeah, but I still feel like he has respect.
Yeah. I mean,
But
yeah, because he's Dr. Dre.
yeah, but I think his role was a little like it's weird. I feel like Dr. Dre is a little bit or was a little bit diminished when you think of NWA,
Hmm.
but Dr. Dre as alone, I don't know. Like it's just I think like that 2001 album, like that brought him back,
Yeah.
and then like niggas is waiting on Detox, and that's never I
No,
think
it's never
coming
coming
out.
out. I am like 200% sure that he scrapped that.
But this is gonna go into the overrated kind of thing for
Hmm.
me, but I think Dr. Dre, for me, he's better than a lot of like 90s rappers or like a lot of rappers back then when like everyone was on. Like for me, I think Tupac is grossly
Yes, he
overrated.
is.
I know I might get a lot of hate
Oh,
for that or whatever,
I
but
you are not lying. He's very overrated.
in terms of influence and everything like that, I get it. That's cool. But if I'm looking at just the bars, the rap, and
Facts.
listening to the song,
Facts.
he didn't do it for me. Biggie, on the other hand,
Biggie.
I like Biggie a little bit more than Tupac. Like I like him a little bit more, but especially in that scene, like I think people like Big Pun, Big
Hmm.
L. I feel like a lot of those dudes didn't they were underrated compared to them. And that might have been just because that's like the mainstream of that time
Yeah,
back
yeah,
then
yeah.
was those main two artists. But for me, Tupac back then, heavily overrated. I'm trying to think of someone else right now, but you guys can take the
I don't
floor.
know how. If I'm super, super, super honest, I don't know how Tupac blew up. And that might be a wild thing to say, but it's like listening to his music and seeing like how he moved and stuff. Like besides his movies, which he did great, he was a great actor, but just I don't know how he blew up. I don't like To Live and Die in L.A. is a good song. Dear Mama is a good song. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that he's like a bad rapper or anything. It's just like I don't know how he got to Tupac, Tupac. You know,
Mm, actually, I take it back. Or no, I'm coming back. When I think of like real rap back then or like 90s, like some of the best rappers and people come up to me with like Tupac, different stuff like that, I think of Guru. For
facts,
me, Guru is one of like the best rappers from back then. And I'm just like
facts.
absolutely and utterly astounded. Like Jazzmatazz, definitely one of like my favorite kind of albums. I guess he would you consider that like a body of work? Because I know he had
Absolutely,
other
yeah,
I
Jazzmatazzes.
yeah.
yeah,
So like I don't know, like a to record like a rap album with live like jazz instrumentals. I think like that's cool, and he's not popular, or a lot of people in the hip hop scene revere him. But I'm saying like I feel like he gets glanced over, you know, and if you try to bring up the Tupac argument to me, people are like, what? Do you know what Tupac's all
and I'm
about,
like,
man?
yeah, it's like his activism, yeah, like, but it's like musically, I don't, it doesn't hit.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say I feel like with Tupac, I I mean, I might be wrong with this. I can't think of anybody that was, rapping like how he was. I mean, they had NWA. They were doing. I can't remember. That was before them, wasn't it? Before Tupac.
Yeah,
In fact, yeah, I can't remember if Tupac. Nobody was really rapping like how he was. He was rapping, he was storytelling essentially. I mean, I can't think of any Los Angeles rapper that was really doing that
I mean that's
besides.
only. Oh my bad, my bad.
No, you good. Go ahead. I
I
was
was
done.
saying, I was saying that's only because he took a whole bunch of inspiration from New York. You know what I'm saying? It's like you didn't hear anybody in the West Coast rapping like that because nobody in the West Coast had the New York education that he had had. At least not in the mainstream. Underground, that's a different story. But they never blew up like Tupac did because I guess because Tupac had charisma.
Yeah, true. Because I feel like personality as a whole will take you kind of far in the whole music industry as a whole. So
Fact.
that was probably it.
That's probably it. Yeah, that and he knew everybody. Like he knew Lil Kim and Biggie before they were Lil Kim and Biggie. He knew Nas before he was Nas. Like
Oh
he
yeah.
some he's kind of like Fat Joe. Like he knew everybody and was at the perfect spot for everything until he passed away. You know.
Oh yeah. That's that's definitely true. But now to get into the nitty gritty, who was overrated for y'all?
uh, all right. This is gonna sound bad, but uh, I think Meg Thee Stallion is very overrated.
Oh,
Ooh, you about to have some people mad with that one.
Man, no, check it out. It's not because she's a girl. I don't care. I listen to MC Light and Lil Kim and Missy Elliott. I don't care what she raps about. I hate her voice. And she's boring. You know what I'm
well,
saying? It's like
I could see
it's
that.
only boring because it's like every lady rapper is doing the thing that Nicki Minaj did 10 years before. You know,
Mm,
smash on the guy, get his money, leave. Like what uh, Nicki was talking about that back in like 2009, and that's when it was fresh.
That's a very good
yeah.
argument. I didn't even think about it
It's not. It's nothing to do with them being girls and nothing. It's nothing to do with like the content and nothing. Because dude rappers say the same thing. To be fair, I don't like many dude rappers nowadays either. But it's just if you're going to do it different. You know what I'm saying? Like people get tired of hearing the same thing over and over and over again. And Meg is like the culmination of all of that. She can rap a little bit. I will. I won't. I won't deny that. But it's just like it's the embodiment of all of Nicki Minaj's influence and whoever else was with Nicki Minaj because I can't really name too many other lady rappers that came out during that time. I mean, if y'all can, like, please help. But it's just it's a culmination of just like all of that into one 2020 package.
Mm. Well, as far as that goes with Meg, it's sometimes it's usually either hit or miss for me, but I feel like I don't think she's like a Nicki Minaj clone. I think she exists in her own kind of right.
And I can get that.
And she has some ideas and stuff that like I don't know, like as an artist, she seems a little bit refreshing for me, or she seems more at the forefront of like she's just so happens to align with
Yeah.
that, but like she's still
No, I
herself.
can definitely dig that, and I agree. You
Yeah.
know, I mean,
But like I can see the sense of like she's a little overrated
yeah.
to you. Like I
The
understand that.
only thing I guess that's really refreshing about me is how direct she is about everything that she raps. I do like that's a pretty funny like thing. Like she doesn't like kind of code it or flowery like say it with flowery language or anything. She's just like, this is what I want. This is what I do. Deal with it. And it's like, all right, for sure. You know what I'm saying? I guess anybody else who I would consider overrated would be um really take your pick. I think the baby is overrated. I think it. I think J Cole is overrated, but that's not like a hot take. I don't think. I think a lot of people
Yeah,
think that.
that's a subtle thing. Yeah.
Who is real controversial? Who I think is overrated? Um, well, I already said Cardi. Um,
Yeah.
um,
For me, I think Young Boy
Young Boy is
is
definitely overrated.
I
Yeah.
think I just don't get it. Like honestly, I can't even say he's over like I just don't get
I
it. It
What
doesn't.
makes it overrated for me, and what makes it extra sad is because I understand why people love his music. It is the most. It, I probably sound like Matt White saying it, but it's like it's the most gangsterific type. Like it's like it's as Louisiana as it gets, and people love it.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I wonder like is it because he's just like overemphasizing it or like
I don't get it.
I don't know.
It's like it's the meme factor. You know what I'm saying? It's funny. It's easy to make fun of him. It's easy to poke fun at the music because
Mm,
it's so ignorant, and people listen to it based on like, oh, it's like a funny type of thing. Oh, young boy fans be like, what I'm saying? It's and I hate for it to sound like I'm basing it down like strictly off of that, but that plays like a giant chunk of it. You know what I'm saying? Like people listen to it because of the memes for the most part, I think.
I think Lil Baby is a tad overrated. A tad.
I think he
I don't think he's
I don't know about
I don't
that one.
know. I think
my reason
mm,
for that is because just simply off of like people's like, yeah, he's the hottest right now. He's the and I get that like now he's on a run, but for me, I think it's crazy when people compare him to like, man, he like Wayne right now or like that's my only thing. Like I think he's overrated in a scheme of that he's successful and people already try to like he's like up
yeah.
there. Throw him to like to the great status.
Oh
And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
that's a
knocking
little
it
much.
at all.
That's a little much.
And that's why I say just a tad. But I mean, if we're going over like who's hot right now, I don't have a problem with him. Like, and that was the thing too with Young Boy. Young Boy, I don't get it. The atmosphere at all. I just nah. Little baby, I get. It's not my cup of tea every day. Like it's not what I'm going out to like pick up and look at in the newspaper, but I understand it. It's cool. He's got some great songs. But when I don't know, like when like the best solidified, people talk about like top whatever, and like he's in that like Wayne or people put even like I've seen people say some stuff about him like over Kendrick. An opinion is an opinion, but I just think like it's really weird to just for me, I can't pinpoint a little baby project where I'm like, this is a classic.
That's because there is no little baby project that is this is a classic status.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's good, but I think it's a little overrated, just a tad.
I would have said that he's exactly where he needs to be, at least in like terms of mainstream music. But the way that you just broke it down, I can get down with it. I understand. In fact, I will adjust my opinion Lil Baby is overrated,
I
if
wouldn't
just a
say,
little bit.
in my opinion, I wouldn't say he's overrated. I just feel like he's, in the limelight and he's, focusing on the full trap scene, and that does kind of, get saturated over time. So I just feel like he needs to, I don't know, expand like what type of music he makes. Because I mean, you can't really, like you said, he has no classic albums, so you can't really, say he's up there with one of the greats if he doesn't necessarily have a classic album. Well, actually, I might have to take back my statement because it sounds like I'm contradicting myself. So he might be overrated.
I mean, and it's all up for interpretation and what you hear. I'm basing it more off of like what I've listened to, and I was just like, okay, that's cool, and what I see, and it might just be because it's kind of like the job of like A&Rs, different people in music to kind of push these new artists in front of you every day, kind of like with like politics, I guess. Like during campaign season, all you do is see fucking like all you see is ads of people like, "Oh, Trump's a bitch. Joe Biden sucks." Like it's just people in front of you, and the whole idea is that like people are kind of stupid and they're just going to vote for whoever they see the most, I guess. Like whatever name pops up the most. So I feel like a lot of the mainstream music becomes overrated or seems overrated because I'm just throwing people in front of you. Or like I think Gunna is pretty good, but at the same time too, sometimes once you've heard a Gunna song, you kind of have an idea of kind of like what it is, but I'm not gonna. He's not one of the first artists that come to mind. The baby for like 100%. Like as soon as
Oh yeah,
like for me, it's just I'm completely I can't pull back from it. I'm just like yeah, I'm done. I don't want any more.
because once you've heard one the baby song, you've heard them all basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's made the same one.
Well, then, I mean, I hate to be that dude. And I'll probably sound like a mad old head, but what can be done to save rap music?
Ooh,
Mm,
If it even
interesting.
needs
Dang.
saving, you know what I'm saying?
honestly, I feel like that's a question for another
I
podcast.
do agree. I
Um,
do agree.
like like right now we're a little bit over that 2 hour mark, and I have a lot more to talk about,
Yeah.
but I wanna I wanna kind of like tie up the or have us like tie up the podcast, but I will ask like a few final questions, just like for people that are interested in listening to your music or anything
Oh,
that you kind of want to shout
yeah.
out, point towards, like
Um,
uh,
yeah.
you have the
Yeah,
floor.
definitely. So you won't find me on streaming because I hate Spotify and I hate Apple Music with a passion. But
Mm-hmm.
Bandcamp and SoundCloud and all of that support your local and non-local artists alike. You know, Bandcamp pays artists like almost wholesale. You know, as opposed to Spotify where you get less than a tenth of a cent for every play that you get.
Mm.
So it's like, yeah, if it came down to that, I'm picking Bandcamp all the time. But yeah, no, um I got all of that. You know, find me on Instagram and Twitter and all that. Hopefully, you guys will have like links and everything, cause like, yeah,
Oh yeah, we can provide links and stuff
yeah,
too, but it's just like you, you graced us with your time and everything, and you're our first guest, so it's just like
man.
whatever you want
I
to do, man.
I
We
I
can do
feel
that.
honored to be here, man. Y'all invited me into your podcast home, and we talked all types of music for 2 hours, and it didn't even feel like 2 hours.
It really
So
did.
Yeah.
like I could really go on for like for another two if it came down to it. But this is not my computer. It's definitely my sister's computer because my baby over there is definitely on life support.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you guys got any last questions for me?
Uh,
Not for me. I don't. I don't know if Teddy.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I could go that route, but I feel like honestly, I feel like this is a good spot. If people want to know more
Yeah,
about you, man, we can just have you some other
most
time.
def. I'm always down to for you guys to bring me back on.
Definitely,
But yeah.
definitely.
I forgot. As far as projects and everything, I definitely have. Well, I mean, they're all secret, but I have right now at least 11 or 12 on the way.
Whew.
Oh,
And
Jesus.
two of them are very, at least to me, they're very high profile. I'll just say that.
Okay.
I'll keep it like
All right. We air horns.
that. You know what I'm saying? But don't tell nobody. You know, they're not gonna come out for a little bit.
All right, we got you, man.
What's that?
All right.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, you guys heard it here first. Urban Dimension, Chucky. We got hella projects on the way. You know he's gonna be taking over for like the next decade.
Honestly, at this point. Oh man.
Yeah, man.
But yeah,
But yeah, we got mad love for you over
I
here, and
appreciate it, man.
we appreciate it. I think that's gonna do it for the episode of Urban Dimension, and we'll tune in next time.
All right. Y'all take care out there.